Ladies and gentlemen, will you do me a favor? A big round of applause for Doug Mellard.
Hey. It's because I'm short. Thanks, by the way, for coming out during the holidays, everybody. It's Ford Truck Month, and you guys showed up. That says a lot about your character. It only comes around 12 times a year, so that's exciting. Guys, I love to fly, mostly because I love to pick on people. I like to mess with them. I like to get in their heads. Here's one thing you guys can all use. Try this. Next flight you're on, talk to your neighbor, have a great conversation, be nice. 3 to 5 minutes in, politely cut them off and say, look, I really enjoyed this conversation, but I have a lot of important work to do. And then that's when you pull out a crayon and you gotta hold it overhanded with a furrowed brow and just write the word apple over and over again for the entire 3.5 hour duration of the flight. Maybe every once in a while just look up all frustrated like, my boss is gonna kill me. Deadlines. You get it. Best friends for life. I was on a flight not too long ago, and there was a guy that actually passed out on the plane, and people were freaking out. There was panic in the air, and at one point, just like in the movies, they asked over the overhead, hey, is there anyone on the plane? Is there a doctor on this flight? And I'd had a couple drinks. I quickly raised my hand. I run down the aisle. They're excited to have me, and I did what any doctor would do in that situation. I lifted up his shirt and I blew on his belly so hard. I believe the medical term is a Zerbert or a raspberry, depending on where you grew up. I saved a life. It feels good. I'm a hero. I'm not always a hero on flights. I was on a flight where this woman was freaking out the entire time because there was a lot of turbulence. And she's so scared, and at one point she asked me if I would hold her hand. And I did, and it's not because I'm a gentleman, it's just that's how I get off, you know what I mean? You guys handhold? It's hot. So I'm holding this broad's hand, right? And we're having a good time, but it's still so turbulent, and so finally, I gotta say something to this poor woman to calm her down. So I think of this thing that my mom used to say to me to calm me down, which was, let go, let God, which means put all your troubles into God's hands and everything will be okay. But again, had a couple drinks that flight. So instead, at the most turbulent moment, I squeezed her hand and I whispered in her ear, let God go. Kind of went the other way on that one. Not good. She was terrified. Speaking of terror, I hate weddings. Weddings are the worst. It's the same thing every time. Last wedding I was at, there was a wedding DJ that pulled out all the wedding DJ moves, all so corny. He kicked off the dance floor by saying, I've heard this a million times, hey, right, we're going to kick off the dance floor. Are there any couples out there that have been married for 50 years or more? Get on out there. And then one couple slowly sauntered out there, and everybody's really bummed out because it's it's their last dance, and yeah, it was so sad. It's why are you bumming us out? But then you're it's bookends. It's the beginning and end of a marriage, And then he's 40 years or more, 30, 20, 10, 5, any newlyweds? And more people go out there. And then he's all right, are there any single people out there? And then they get on the dance floor, the single people, and they're actually enjoying themselves dancing because, their spirits haven't been crushed yet. And yeah, now it's bumping. It's great. And then it took this weird turn where he's just all right, is there anybody out there who's currently going through a terrible divorce? there and shake that thing. Is there anybody out there whose soon-to-be ex-wife just got knocked up by the neighbor? Let's see what you got. Is there anybody out there whose Kia Sorento just got repossessed? Shake your moneymaker. And then he just cried for like 20 minutes. And then we heard a gunshot over the microphone. A lot of feedback, very rude. Just like any wedding you've ever been to. You guys know what I'm talking about.